Let's talk about developing a risk statement to help your team mainstream GBV risk mitigation. By the end of the video, you will know how to write a 3-part risk statement related to a specific sector or area of work. Let's get started. This is Edna. Her area of work is related to non-food items and basic assistance in an urban area. She is analyzing the data collected during an assessment on access to basic needs and services. Edna knows managing risks is part of her responsibility and everyday work, but she's not sure why she should use a risk statement to talk about gender-based violence or GBV risks. Edna has identified several GBV risks. In the data, she can see groups of persons at risk report not having access to basic needs, for example, not having enough cash for rent, women eating fewer meals to ensure younger children have food, and inconsistent access to water in urban shelters. Furthermore, Edna sees women and adolescent girls have identified a lack of access to reproductive health services and medications due to barriers such as the high cost of transportation or long distances to reach healthcare services. Edna knows that these risks, if not addressed, can result in consequences such as health issues and increased exposure to GBV, compounded by the context, for example, movement restrictions. The consequences can become even more severe and further jeopardize the health and safety of persons of concern and others in the community. Edna realizes that this data should be analyzed within a multifunctional team to figure out what can be done to mitigate these and other GBV risks. What is an effective and efficient way to ensure everyone understands the risks and their role to actively reduce those risks? A risk statement is a tool for staff to use as part of a larger risk management process that includes accountability for actions being taken to address identified GBV risks. Risk statements allow us to fully describe the situation in consistent terms that can be understood by a variety of people throughout the organization who may or may not be familiar with the context of a risk. A risk statement has 3 parts: if, then, resulting in. If refers to the cause of the risk or contributing factor. Then is the event the staff member or organization would like to avoid. Resulting in names the consequences if the risk occurs. Let's help Edna put the pieces together. If health services in urban areas remain inaccessible due to the long distance from where refugees live and the high cost of transportation and services, then women and adolescent refugee girls in distant neighborhoods will not have access to the health care they need for themselves or their families, including reproductive health services and medications. Resulting in unwanted pregnancies, heightened risk of GBV, and increased exposure to sexual exploitation and abuse. The risk statement can also help colleagues you are working with in the MFT to identify common GBV risk areas. A few tips. Try to feature the sector or area of work in the if part of the statement. This is who will be responsible for mitigating the risk. For example, public health and program staff. Make it clear which at-risk group you would like to target and the location in the then part of the statement, such as women and adolescent girls of concern living in the outskirts of an urban area. Avoid referring to an entire group of persons of concern such as refugees or women. Your actions to address GBV risks should be targeted and documented for follow-up and accountability in an action plan. All risks cannot be eliminated. However, Edna now knows she can work with her colleagues to use a 3-part risk statement: if, then, and resulting in. This can help the team to better articulate the GBV risk and jointly analyze and decide what proactive measures can be taken, by whom, and by when to mitigate the GBV risk before it occurs. Remember, each area of our work has the potential to mitigate GBV risks.